The Doctor didn't just regenerate, he vanished. And in his place, Rose Tyler, a companion, not a Time Lord. What just happened? Why is the BBC silent? And why did the man who brought Doctor Who back to life now say, "We don't know what's happening next"? Because this might not be a break. It might be the final reboot, a quiet erasure of the most dangerous science fiction character ever created. In the reality war, the Doctor dies saving a timeline. Not unusual. Sacrifice is tradition, but what happened next wasn't regeneration. He didn't become a new Doctor. He became Rose Tyler, the face of nostalgia, the echo of the past, a human. This wasn't evolution. This was collapse, a signal that the timeline is closing in on itself, that maybe the Doctor is the paradox that must be deleted. And it gets worse. Because off-screen, where the real war is happening, Doctor Who is dying again. Russell T. Davies, the man who resurrected the franchise, the man who rebuilt Gallifrey in the public imagination. Now he says, "We don't know what's happening yet." In a production diary, in the final note before going dark, no promises, no trailers, just a pause. But behind that pause is pressure from Disney, from BBC executives, from a streaming contract running out right now. The silence isn't peace, it's fear. Because the future of Doctor Who is no longer about storytelling, it's about control. Doctor Who has always flirted with paradox, but this time, the paradox is real. Behind the fiction, contracts are collapsing, ratings are dropping, audiences are scattered, and so the story twists to match reality. Omega, the Time Lord of Collapse, the Rani, the scientist of chaos, a daughter who should never exist, and a regeneration that isn't one. The Doctor ends, and instead of a new face, we get a ghost. Rose Tyler, symbol of the past, the one who was lost. Now reborn as the Doctor? It's not canon, it's not science, it's a message. The cycle is over. The system has rebooted, and this time, we may not come back. Let's be honest, Doctor Who has died before. 1985, vanished for 18 months. 1989, disappeared for 16 years. 1996, a single TV movie to test the waters. 2005, the rebirth. 2025, every generation thinks they're the last, but this time the silence is louder. Why? Because it's not just about fan demand anymore. It's about streaming contracts, AI prediction tools, audience data heat maps. Doctor Who is not being judged by heart or story. It's being judged by watch time, rewatch value, global licensing projections, and the numbers are not good. So what do studios do when legacy doesn't perform? They don't cancel it, they quietly bury it. Let's talk about the deal. Disney Plus took global streaming control of Doctor Who, injected budget, introduced tighter episode runs, helped rebrand the show for international reach. But Disney doesn't just buy shows, it buys predictable stories. And Doctor Who? It's a wild paradox engine. One episode is a musical, the next is a horror, then a timeline reset, then existential dread. For fans, that's magic. For algorithms, it's chaos. And now, the deal is ending, quietly. No headlines, no farewell tour, and Russell T. Davies says, "We don't know what's happening next." Translation? The House of Mouse walked away. While fans ask, what's next? A spin-off appears, The War Between the Land and the Sea. A show about the Silurians, the ancient species forgotten beneath the earth. Why now? Because spin-offs do what the Doctor can't. Stay contained, stay linear, stay safe. The Doctor threatens structure. The Silurians offer strategy. So while the main timeline collapses, the universe is split. And Disney gets a neat, marketable property. No time travel, no gender fluidity, no paradox, just war. It's not expansion, it's replacement. And every time they distract you with a spin-off, they're buying time to erase the original. Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, and Ncuti Gatwa. Each one carried the soul of the Doctor through time. But now, that soul has been fractured and replaced by a symbol, a memory, a ghost, Rose Tyler. She wasn't a Time Lord, she didn't regenerate, she wasn't supposed to come back, but she did. And in doing so, she may have ended the cycle. Not out of love, but out of corporate nostalgia farming. Russell T. Davies didn't write a finale. He wrote a failsafe. If the show ends here, it loops back into itself, a closed circle, a timeline folded neatly into a bow. No next adventure, just ambiguity. Because ambiguity is cheaper than answers. It creates clicks, speculation, fan theories, and most importantly, it gives studios time to decide. Time to watch analytics, time to measure engagement, time to see if the audience even notices the silence. And if they don't, the Doctor ends here. No bang, no reboot, no goodbye. Just a final flicker in the time vortex, and then dark. If you're still here, it means something. You feel it. The silence, the manipulation, the slow death dressed as a soft pause. So listen, subscribe now. Not for this channel, not for me, for the truth. Because while other channels chase trailers, we chase shadows. We follow the data they don't want trending. And in next part, we uncover the hidden audience test that killed Season 3. The dark reason Billie Piper returned, and the internal BBC memo that says, phase out. Because if this was the end, they would have told us, but they didn't. And that's how you know it's not fiction anymore. They didn't cancel Doctor Who. They didn't renew it either. They did something far worse. They put it in a temporal coma, a narrative stasis field, a digital Schrodinger's box, where the show is both alive and dead. Until you stop watching. This isn't about stories anymore. This is about control. Let's finish the loop. Here's what you were never supposed to know. Doctor Who Season 3 was written, outlines submitted, characters developed, scripts drafted. They had titles, arcs, worlds, then came the test. Not for fans, for data teams. BBC and Disney ran it through AI prediction software. The result? Inconsistent emotional resonance. Not marketable, not rewatchable, not viable. The decision was instant. Season 3 was shelved. No announcement, no scandal, just redacted. And Russell's silence, it wasn't exhaustion. It was surrender. He built a show from paradox. But in a world ruled by algorithms, paradox doesn't sell. The Rose Tyler twist wasn't creative. It was a tactic. Disney had one demand. We need the old fans back. Nostalgia performs well. Rose tests through the roof. Younger fans don't remember her, but older ones feel her. So instead of giving us a bold regeneration, they fed us a familiar face. Not for story, not for character, for brand safety. But there's one problem. Rose can't carry the timeline. She was never built to be the Doctor. So this ending? It's not a new beginning. It's a placeholder, a stall tactic. And you felt it, because it wasn't satisfying. It was hollow. An anonymous leak from inside BBC production documents reveals a coded directive. Begin phase-out protocol, core title. Translated, Doctor Who isn't being cancelled. It's being fragmented. Here's the strategy. Spin-off side stories like War Between the Land and the Sea. Repackage older episodes as legacy archives. Extract characters into separate miniseries. Let the core title quietly vanish. And in the meantime, no major announcements, no backlash, just data, just silence, just the slow erasure of the Doctor from his own universe. And the worst part? The algorithm loves it. Doctor Who was built on deep, flexible lore. But now, the lore is being rewritten to serve marketing, not mythology. Example, Omega. A legendary Time Lord, a god of causality, reduced to a one-episode villain arc. Why? Because complexity hurts casual retention rates. Same with the Rani. Once a rival Time Lord scientist, now just a shadow of herself, filler between emotional beats. And the Doctor? Regenerated into a companion. Storyline erased, future uncertain. The longer the character exists, the more dangerous he becomes to studios. Because the Doctor can go anywhere, do anything, defy genre, break canon. And in the age of algorithmic storytelling, that's a liability. So they simplified him, then froze him. The final episode ends with a reset. The Doctor sacrifices himself, timeline restored. No one remembers him, Poppy lives, Belinda forgets. And in the last moment, a regeneration glitch. Rose Tyler appears. This is not just a cliffhanger, this is a metaphor. Reset the lore, reset the cast, reset the brand, wipe the memory of past seasons, start clean from a familiar face. But there's one problem. Doctor Who can't be rebooted without killing what made it real. Because it was never just a show. It was a pattern-breaking machine. And now they're trying to turn it into a template. Another leak. This one far more chilling. According to insiders, Disney BBC began using AI-assisted writing systems in 2023. They weren't replacing writers, they were analyzing them. Plot rhythms, dialogue length, scene beats per minute, emotion spike frequency. And soon, the writer's room got an email. Please adjust scripts to match predictive viewer response frameworks. Translated, stop being unpredictable, start being measurable. The Doctor's wildness, trimmed. The show's weirdness, smoothed. And when Season 3 failed to pass the algorithm's test, it was silenced. Not cancelled. Not announced. Just deleted from possibility. The true paradox isn't in the show. It's in real life. We built a story about time travel, but forgot that time doesn't guarantee progress. And now we live in a timeline where the Doctor's soul was replaced with market testing. The TARDIS is grounded by streaming rights. The writers are asked to write less like artists and more like apps. And the saddest twist? The fans still watch, still wait, still believe, because hope is harder to kill than IP. But here's the final secret. Hope is the glitch, and that's why they fear it. So what happens now? Russell T. Davies isn't saying. The BBC isn't committing. Disney has already moved on. And the Doctor? He's frozen between timelines, between contracts, between truth and nostalgia. But if you look close enough, you'll see something familiar. A blue box, still humming, still waiting. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to begin again. Because you can shut down the budget, you can pause the production, you can fake a finale, but you can't delete the one force more powerful than any studio. The imagination of a Whovian who won't let the Doctor die. They tried to bury it, they tried to reboot it, they tried to erase it, but the timeline remembers. And the question isn't what happened to Doctor Who, it's what did they replace him with while we weren't looking.